Welcome back to the MSG 150. We have a special guest here, Kristian Dyer, Red Bulls expert. However, so much soccer to talk about. Coming to America, the first Madrid Derby played outside of Europe. We have Atletico against Real Madrid. Some different faces from the last times that we've seen them play. Obviously, I was actually at that Super Cup match in Tallinn. What can we expect this time? Some changing faces, right?
Probably a little bit of a different atmosphere and vibe than in Estonia,
Absolutely.
Actually, at the end of the day. But, I think this is a really intriguing game when you look at both teams going to be very much in transition. Real Madrid, all the talent they brought in, a team really lacking balance. When you look last year at what they did, they had a lot of firepower. They were bringing up a lot of young players through their system. But at the end of the day, they didn't necessarily have that balance. They could attack, but in key moments in transition, they really seemed to struggle. And Atletico Madrid going to be going through their own transition here. Perhaps the post-Griezmann era going to be entering in. Such a big name for the French national team, but certainly for Atletico Madrid. At the end of the day, two teams, I think they need to figure out who they are, what they're going to be, how they're going to be, and both of them are going to need that balance. This is going to be a good kicking of the tires for both clubs at the Meadowlands.
Absolutely. So for fans to watch, Zidane has purchased so many new toys. In fact, so many new toys, he has to sell one of his old toys. There's been a lot of indication that it might be Gareth Bale, who actually said that he's fine if he doesn't play. He's just going to play golf. Many people think that he's going to be the one to move off the block. You have any idea of who it could be?
You would have to think it's going to be one of those top four English Premier League teams. Chelsea's a club that's going to be needing wingers. They just brought in American Kristian Pulisic on a big transfer from Borussia Dortmund. They're looking to add a little bit there. Manchester United, after the year they went through, Bale brings star power. He certainly brings some name recognition and perhaps a little bit of stability there on the wing for an organization that's had some great wingers throughout the year. Cristiano Ronaldo, Ryan Giggs and such. And I think Bale could fit in nicely there. One of those teams is going to be interested in bringing him back to the UK.
So let's move quickly. Let's get into U.S. women's soccer. Are we still feeling the reverberations of the infamous 13-0 drubbing of Thailand?
Yeah, no problems with them getting 13 goals. I think at the end of the day, when you're talking about the group stages, tiebreakers being goal differentials, number of goals scored, it's quite frankly, it'd be more insulting having played the game at the high school and college level when you've been on that other side of some of those drubbings and a team pulls back, they have the opportunity and they just start knocking the ball around. That's a little bit more of a slap in the face, I think, to Thailand than putting up 13 goals. But the predetermined goal celebration, some of the enthusiasm, in particular from the captain, I think at the end of the day, that's going to spur some team to try to knock the U.S. off in this World Cup. Not a big fan of the premeditated. And you go back to the '92 Dream Team in the U.S. Olympics basketball. They're putting a beating on Angola. High fives, very muted.
Yeah, I think you said it right there. It's more thinking about how the other teams in the tournament are going to perceive that. However, that is our better half. Speaking of the other half, the men's side that are trying to keep up with the women. They've got a big Gold Cup thing coming up. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, this is a team. We talked about the two Madrid teams being in transition. The U.S. men's national team. Oh, boy. We got a transition right here. First-time head coach of the national team, Greg Berhalter, coming in. We know what happened in World Cup qualifying. The U.S. crashing out unceremoniously in Trinidad and Tobago. This was a team that the cupboard was left bare the past 3 to 4 years under Jurgen Klinsmann and then Bruce Arena. No youth development taking place. Really just kind of went with the old, well-known veterans. So now there needs to be a bleeding of the young players into the ranks. It's going to be painful, not good return on results necessarily when you look at the loss to Jamaica down in D.C., a team that we've dominated since 1997. Our B team should be beating Jamaica. And then that result against Venezuela in Cincinnati, 3 goals in the first half. That's very telling. I'm not sure the personnel is there for Berhalter to play the way he wants to play. The talent's there, though. It's not a matter of talent.
Okay, well, before we get into Red Bulls, give me something to sort of latch onto and be hopeful as an American fan. Some of these guys that have been playing in the U23s and the U20s, is there anybody that catches your eye that we can look forward to?
Yeah, there's a lot to look forward to. Yeah. Greg Berhalter didn't take them, and this would be the time to bring them in. Tyler Adams is out hurt, former New York Red Bull player, now playing and performing very well in the Bundesliga with Red Bull Leipzig. He's going to be the future of the national team. Weston McKennie for FC Schalke. We talked about Kristian Pulisic. Josh Sargent of Werder Bremen. And then there's a good core. It was a top-heavy group that came from the Under-20 World Cup, just recently completed their run to the quarterfinals, knocked off France, who was considered the favorites to win the tournament. Not a lot of depth in that group, but some real pieces that the next 2 to 3 years are going to become big parts of the national team in World Cup qualifying. The U.S. is going to qualify for the World Cup in 2022. It's not going to happen again.
We can take it to the bank.
You can take it to the bank, yes.
Thank you. All right, so big break for the Red Bulls. How unprecedented is that? How are these players dealing with this? I mean, we're talking weeks on end with just training.
Yeah, it is a little bit of a quirk of MLS. This is a league that plays on artificial surfaces. A lot of leagues in the world don't. Plays, when you talk about the travel, you're talking time zones, only Russia has to deal with that. And then, because this is a league that goes from spring to fall, the international calendar, when you have the Euros, you've got the Gold Cup, you have the World Cup, there are big breaks, and it really makes a choppy season. For a team that's had some ups and downs so far this year, comes at a good time. They can reboot. They need to get some players back healthy. I think they need to get some players in the right frame of mind. It comes at a good time for the Red Bulls, especially they lost. It was a somewhat disappointing match on Tuesday in the Open Cup to New England, a game that they dominated. They were on the wrong side of a 3-2 scoreline, but at the end of the day, it's a good time for the Red Bulls to reboot. It came at a good time.
Well, talking big picture, I actually had a time with Edgar Davids, the legend, and we were actually talking broadly about the MLS, and he was so impressed with the atmospheres. And that's something that I was really interested in covering when I was out covering the Champions League. The atmospheres, but for the most part, the atmospheres of the MLS on the west side are a little bit more infamous. As you've traveled as an insider for the Red Bulls, what has been most impressive on this side of the country?
Well, I'll tell you, when Red Bull Arena is packed, that doesn't happen a whole lot, but when Red Bull Arena is packed, that stadium's loud and it gets rocking, and I think it's a real home field advantage. And we've seen that throughout the years. The Red Bulls have gone through a really good streak over the past 6 years. They've won the regular season title 3 times. They've been a consistent team. When that place gets filled, it's impressive. And I think what's happening in D.C. with their stadium, when you look at Philadelphia, what they've been able to do, but all the buzz is always going to be about those Pacific Northwest teams, Seattle and Portland. I think LAFC coming in last year brought it to a different level. Atlanta, 45,000 every game, outdrawing the Braves, a really tremendous atmosphere. We talk a lot about the on-the-field success of MLS, sending players to Europe, sending players to the national team, but I think also this identity of a soccer culture that's been missing. When you had crowds of 12,000 rattling around inside Giant Stadium, now you've got beautiful soccer-specific cathedrals built specifically for the sport. It's different. It's a game changer.
For more great videos from the MSG 150, check out right there. And remember, our show is on Monday through Thursday, 8 to 10:30 p.m. on MSG Network and MSG Go.